Good day, everyone. You are back with us at the St. Lucie County Public Schools Speakers Bureau, and we're so glad to have you with us today. For those of you that have not heard the Speakers Bureau before, we are here to encourage, to inspire, to motivate our students first, and then our community. So whatever walk of life, or whatever stage of life that you're in right now, know that we're speaking to you, and we're doing it through our life stories. So we have people from all over the community that comes and is a guest on the Speakers Bureau. We've been doing this for many years here in St. Lucie County, and they share their life story. And so we have a very special individual here today that has been so kind to come and be a part of the Speakers Bureau and to be open to share her life. Her name is Miss Dijon Jackson, and she is administrator on special assignment for family and community outreach. And so we're asking her to come and just talk to us today, give us some wisdom, give us some her experience and so forth, and let us know who Miss Jackson is. And she's very well known in our community. Was just left principalship in Francis K. Suite.
Yes.
And so now she's on special assignment. So Ms. Jackson, welcome to the Speakers Bureau.
Well, thank you for having me.
We appreciate you coming today. We want you to start out by telling us what is this special assignment? Tell us, what is that all about?
So I have the opportunity to be the Family and Community Outreach Administrator. And what is not known is I started my career in St. Lucie County as a parent educator way back when through full service schools at Fort Pierce Elementary, which is now CAST. And with full service schools, there were connected resources, both health, mental health services, the school system, all of these places housed in one campus. And so as I finished high school and was at Indian River Community College then, I had the chance to work there as I continued my studies and was working in the community as a parent educator. And so that was inspirational to be able to say, okay, I'm going to continue to go on my path, teaching and learning, and then moving into a leadership direction within the school. But now this is like the icing on the cake because it allows me to be able to reach in the community and connect those resources within. So if there are resources needed for clothing, for food, to combat food insecurities, if it's making sure that families know what initiatives are happening in our district, making sure that they're communicated with, that's all part of the role. And I can't leave my teaching hat alone, and I can't leave the school base alone. So academics is a priority in St. Lucie Public Schools. So making sure that people know how they can access resources with technology, or how they can access resources with making sure their kids are proficient or on grade level or on track for graduation. All of that is within this very special role that has been carved out. And so it's like the heavens open up and said, okay, this is what you're able to do right now. And I absolutely adore this role as the Family and Community Outreach Administrator.
Wow. And this is, you just got started in this role as of this year.
Yes.
So this is a brand new thing that we brought into St. Lucie County Public Schools. I know we've done other things before, and we do other things now. But right now, your position is to really reach the parent and the community.
Yes.
And be that bridge.
Yes, absolutely.
That people can even cross over.
And I know that I have 3 kids who went through St. Lucie schools, graduated from St. Lucie public schools, went off to college, worked in St. Lucie schools. And so I realized that there is such a connection that has to happen. So I look at it from a parent standpoint. I have a grandson who's at Morningside Elementary, and so even as a grandmother, I look at what sources are in schools and making sure that communication happens on a regular basis. So it's so critical to have families involved in school and engaged in school. So that family and that community engagement is critical, especially right now with all of the things that are changing and happening in school. We have to be aware and we have to help our kids. That's what was shown to me.
So how do you go about reaching the family and becoming that bridge in which grandparents, as you mentioned, a lot of our kids are being raised by grandparents now, and they do need the knowledge of how to maneuver around or how to, to help their child, if not the rest of the children.
Right.
So how do you do that?
So several means and methods. I'm in churches on Sunday, and it doesn't matter the denomination, even the language. I connect with those who are in churches to make sure that they're hearing the message. I'm also at schools to make sure that parents or families are involved in the school advisory council or the PTO, because they are an advisory council to the school leadership team, and also making sure that families know how to connect with their teacher, their child's teacher. So being that face and out there is critical in this role. And it's not a 9-to-5 kind of job, and it's not a Monday through Friday. It's every day. If I hear a need, I'm trying to respond to that need. Some examples include even going to open houses to make sure that families know these are the people you need to see. I had mentioned technology. We just recently did an Internet Essentials campaign where we were connecting families to have internet in the home. So just aligning those resources, putting that out there, because families want the best for their kids. We know that.
Yes.
And so getting the best is making those connections happen on a regular basis.
And many times, as you mentioned, parents and families want the best. Many times they just don't know.
Right.
And so to be able to connect them with the knowledge of knowing. And so we're excited about the new position that we have here in St. Lucie County, and also excited that you are the one that has been chosen to fulfill that.
Well, it's an exciting time. It really is.
Well, you've been around a long time.
I have.
You know, when you mentioned IRSC, you've been around.
I have. But what's so amazing in this community is I had people who believed in me as a little girl. And as a little girl, they showed me pathways that I couldn't even imagine. They said, you know what, you want to be a teacher? You're getting up and you're teaching your fellow classmates. Let's
talk about that a little bit more. And you sharing your childhood with us. Talk to us.
Let me tell you, I am from a pioneering family in St. Lucie County. So my family owns Sarah's Memorial Chapel. And back then it was Peak Mortuary. It was one of the first African-American funeral homes in St. Lucie County. And my grandmother's, my matriarch side, not only owned the business, but they also had one of the first ambulance services that served the African-American community. And also...
So Sarah Memorial is in your family?
Yes, that's my grandma.
Wow, okay.
That was my grandma. That was my grandma. And with that, the trailblazers that were in my family said, you know what, service is within you. You have to make sure that you serve in the community. And so they didn't say that necessarily, they showed me that.
They lived it.
They lived that service every day, service within the means of all. It didn't matter if you had money, it didn't matter if you didn't have money. Service within the means of all was something that was lived in our family. And
So is your grandmother Rufus' mother?
yes,
Okay. We want
Yes.
to make the connections here.
Yes.
Because my husband, you know, born and raised here, Reverend Mills. But I'm from up north. I've been here for over 35 years. But it's not the same as growing up
right,
and being here and knowing the people.
right.
So I don't know a lot of the history and background. So you just gave me a history lesson. Keep talking, I'm listening.
Well, that's from my mother's side, and then my grandfather also was he was the first African American mailman in Fort Pierce. And so that legacy lives through me. And so they showed me the path. They said, you know what, there's no obstacle that you can't overcome if you set your mind to it and you work hard. And that's what I've tried to live my life by every day. So that
I get
pioneering
chills just
family.
hearing you say they showed you the path.
Absolutely.
They didn't tell you, they showed you.
Absolutely.
And showing you, they told the story.
Absolutely.
And it's important for our children to have those examples throughout the community.
Yes. So you mentioned Rufus, my uncle. Well, his father, the first African American mailman, also didn't graduate with his class from LPA because he was drafted into the military. And he served not only in World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam. Service was what he did, what he lived by. But he also made sure that all of his kids knew the value of education because education was the way out. So he came back and he finished school at LPA, graduated the year afterwards, and then he continued service. And he worked with my grandmother at the at Sarah's Memorial. It was Peaks Mortuary at the time. So that was something that was just instilled in me at an early age. And my mom, who was a single mom, raising 3 kids, made sure that we knew the value of education as well. And so we all had to graduate. We didn't have a choice. We all had to graduate. We all had to go to school. We all had to fulfill our dreams because that was the expectation. There was nothing that wouldn't allow us to do that. No obstacle that that occurred. So, yeah, that's just a
Well,
little.
you came from a very powerful line of people. And to say it was just the expectation that you did it. And I know back in the days, now you and I are not that old, but you know, we're getting there, but we're not there yet. I don't think. But back in the days, it was important in the African American community to graduate from high school. But it sounds to me like your parents, your mom and your grandparents pushed you guys further in saying, you know, you have to follow whatever it is you want to do in life. You have to get that education.
Right.
And so that played a major part because you said it was in you to do it.
Right.
What about your siblings? Your siblings also went that way?
Absolutely, they did. And my younger brother went into the family business. And my older brother, very smart with technology, went in that pathway and also instilled that love of education in the kids as well. So my nieces and nephews, military service, a dentist. So it's the expectation that.
And you had extended family.
Absolutely.
You mentioned your mom was a single mother, single mom, and she raised 3. What was it? Your how many siblings do you have? 3?
I have 3. I have my older brother. Okay. I'm in the middle, but I'm the bossy one in the middle, and then my younger brother.
Middle child too. I know what that means.
I'm the only girl, so it's different. So even though she was a single mom, my dad was influential in my life too, and he also served in Vietnam.
And a chance to meet your dad. Yes.
And he still, I'm daddy's girl all the way, because he was always involved and made a pathway for us to make sure that we were successful in life.
Okay, so you have this wonderful family background, But I know you had to go through challenges.
Absolutely.
And there's people out there, parents out there that are going through challenges. Talk to us about some of your challenges and how or what it was that caused you to be able to propel yourself.
So I was a young mom. My senior year of high school, the end of the senior year, I had my son, my eldest. And even in my family said, you won't be able to do what you think you're going to be able to do. And
now that you have a child.
Now that you have a child.
Back in those days, that's what, yeah.
Now that you have a child, you might as well, stay, settle down, work at a fast food place. And because there was such a belief from my mom, from my grandma, from my family, in my extended family, those educators in my life and those who watched me grow up, they were like, no, that doesn't stop or define who you are. You still continue on. And so, I had mentioned that I was a parent educator. I had 3 jobs at the age of 18, 19 to make sure that not only ends were met, but also that I continued in school, made sure that I continued to fulfill my obligations and my responsibilities, and continued to grow and develop and continue to give back to the community.
So you had that support system.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned your teachers. Talk to us about back then with the teachers, because I think I'm not going to ask your age, but I think, based on what my husband, the stories he tells me, that it was a very tight-knit community back then. And partially the reason why was because it was a lot of segregation and a lot of discrimination. And so for the black community in St. Lucie County, they really had to come together. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I had mentioned my grandmother, who was this trailblazer that had the ambulance company and the mortuary and one of the grave sites, Poindexter Williams. I don't know if anyone knows the history. So during that time, it was not okay for servicemen to be buried in cemeteries. And so she had to overcome obstacles, and I witnessed the death threats and the things that happened because there were things that prevented the honorable burial of a serviceman. So watching that and watching the community come together, rally around Sarah Peak to make sure that we knew what had to happen. So I was involved with organizations, with people who showed me the way, showed me how to write to politicians, showed me how to continue with education, showed me how to get scholarships, showed me how to do so many things that I didn't think were possible. That pathway was outlined. So with all of the community pouring resources in, that's what allowed me to continue that path. And it is a tight-knit community. St. Lucie County has always come together to make sure that its youth are able to be successful. And now that I am an adult, and now that I have that responsibility, even in this role, it allows me to be able to show that pathway. So there might be some kids out there who are like, I don't think I can do that. Well, if I hear that, I'm going to try to get behind you and make sure that you do. I have, and my godchild will deny this, but I have godchildren. I say that because my first godchild was like, no, I'm the only one. But I have godchildren that I'm like, okay, you have to go to school. You have to make sure that you have a career. School might not be for everyone. You might have to go to the military, or you might have to be involved in a trade school. It doesn't matter. As long as you're moving forward, that is what it's about.
So that outside community is extremely important.
Absolutely.
And when you mention your godchild, and I think about our work for many years, because we're on another generation of children, right? the children who are now adults, like you said, now that I'm an adult, and I'm thinking of these 3 guys who came to my house last minute, just said, we want to come by and see you, okay? And they all grew up in our work, in our program. And now they're in their 40s and close to their 50s, you know, and they call me mama. And when they say it, they mean it because of the input, the impact that was made in their lives.
Right.
You know, and often now as adults, they'll say real quick, if it wasn't for you guys, you know, if it wasn't for you guys. And that tells me just how important community is.
Absolutely.
That, you know, a lot of times with community that we look at the school district with the kids and we say, oh, well, if you're not doing good as a school district, it's your fault as a district. But the community plays a major part
Absolutely.
in how our children turn out.
Absolutely.
And so to hear, you know, that when you said godparent, I stopped. I got 2 goddaughters, but I've got all these kids and adult kids. I looked at all 3 of them. I said, you know what? I can't help it. You're my children.
Right.
You're grown men. You're
Right.
almost in your 50s, and you're my children, you know.
Right.
And so of course we're your children because it was community. It wasn't family. The family played their part.
Right.
But the community, you know, even when the family didn't play their part.
Right.
Because with a lot of children out there, they don't have that family support.
Right.
How important it is for that child to have that family support when it comes to their success. And that's what your story is telling us, you
Yes.
know. Having the community, having the family, having the school, all of us together is what make the difference, you know. Having great teachers, but we know without the community support and the family support, that's like we're kids at Hope.
Right.
You know, the ACEs, all the different ACEs.
Absolutely.
The more ACEs a child has, the more chance of success.
Right.
So, who or what are you most thankful for?
I'm most thankful for my family because they allow me to be able to continue the work. My husband is always backing. He is always there. He lends that listening ear. He is the biggest cheerleader, even though he's quiet. He's the biggest cheerleader just by his mere presence. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for my children, who I adore, and my grandson, who is the most brilliant guy in the world, and I think the handsomest and all. But, you know,
Outside of mine.
you know, we're a little biased.
Right. The most brilliant in the world. You are definitely a good grandma.
But, you know, I'm thankful for family. I'm thankful for support. I'm thankful for friends and our school family. You know, we have an amazing district, and it was hard to leave the sweetest place on earth, FK Suite. But I came in our communications department, that family has adopted me, and they'd allowed me to be my loud self that I am, and they still don't give me grief about it. They just accept me for who I am.
Yes, and hearing that part of your story, tell us about you mentioned IRCC at the time. That's where you started after you graduated?
Right.
You graduated from Lincoln Park?
No, I graduated from Miami Norland Senior High, and it's a.
How did you end up here?
So I graduated
how did
from
you
Miami.
end up there?
So in my senior year, I went to John Carroll for a few years, and then my senior year, I transferred to Miami Norland Senior High. It was a big shock. To go from this small little pond to what seemed like the ocean. So when I graduated, I had to come back home. And so when I came back home...
So your family moved, or you just, they sent you?
No.
Got you out of
My
here.
mom and 2 of my mom and my younger brother and I moved to Miami. She remarried.
Okay.
And then afterwards, it was like time to come back home. So I came back home. IRCC, finished there, and then went off to USF in Tampa with my younger brother began my teaching career there,
Okay.
and then came back home after graduating. And then my fourth grade teacher, who I adored, who I wanted to be just like, offered me a job. And I accepted that job, and she encouraged, pushed, motivated me to continue. And she
And
saw
who is this?
Debbie Eisman.
Okay.
And she didn't accept no for an answer in terms of leadership development, and she was like, okay, well, you need to continue. And so I continued with FAU, graduated, and continued my leadership path. And so it was hard to leave Sweet, but I've had so many wonderful opportunities.
Tell us that path. You started out in St. Lucie County District. You started out as a teacher. Okay.
A fifth grade teacher at Floresta. And I actually attended Floresta when it was first built. So went back and taught at Floresta, and then became a teacher on special assignment at Garden City, became an assistant principal at Garden City. When Dan McCarty had the elementary kids go to the middle and combined and made a 3-8, I was an administrator who continued there. Then I got my first principalship at Lawnwood Elementary. Loved, loved, loved that. And then Savannah Ridge, Francis K. Sweet, and now in this role.
Okay. Wow. The time has just gone by real quick with you. I'm enjoying this interview. No, this is a good thing, a good thing. Do you believe in second chances?
Absolutely. I've been given so many chances. I'm beyond the second and third and fourth. And everyone deserves that. Everyone requires that, because you grow and you learn from whatever it was that had you have another chance. So, yes. Definitely.
Great. How do you push through your worst times? Because you really have achieved a lot. You really have moved up the ranks, and I know without challenges, how did you survive those challenges? What is it about you?
Faith and prayer. And knowing that there is a God that does provide second chances and a pathway. And so that has always been instilled in me. And through the prayers of family, friends, and support, that's what allows me to be able to overcome those challenging times.
Great wisdom. We have about a minute and a half here, but I want to ask you this question. What advice would you give someone who is going into a leadership position for the first time?
That's an excellent question. Reflect, seek mentorship from those who are in the path, reflect some more on those opportunities that are given to you. Learn, lead from the heart, and be that servant leader that allows you to be able to touch the lives of the children that we serve.
What is the one characteristic that you believe a leader should have?
The ability to listen. You have to listen and reflect and then respond.
Great advice. Great advice. Our interview has gone by so quickly that we've got to have you back. At some point, and we appreciate you being so open and sharing your life to encourage someone else's life out there. Our time has run out, but thank you so much, Ms. Jackson, for spending this segment of your busy schedule with the St. Lucie County Public School Speakers Bureau. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you very much.
All righty.